So finally, I'm able to get accurate 2x4s. 3.5 by 1.5. Perfect. What's going on, guys? So yesterday I was milling up some 4x4s and some 1x material to get going on this chicken coop I need to build. My sawmill's cutting kind of all over the place. I'm milling a log and one end would be 10 inches, the other end would be 9.5 inches. So that means today I need to level the sawmill. So I'm going to show you a way to do that. And all you're going to need is a couple blocks of wood, some string, some staples, and a tape measure. Let's get going. And then a couple other things to make it easier is just a couple clamps to block this wood down. So I'm just putting 2 blocks of wood. These are just 2x4s. They need to be exactly the same width. So from this end to this end, it needs to be exactly the same. So obviously 2x4s are 1.5 inches right from the store, and I know that. So I'm blocking them down on each end of the bunk. Now what I'm gonna do is just staple one end of the string on this block. I'm just gonna put a couple in just to make it so you can pull it tight, and then I'm gonna use a hammer, which you probably don't really need to, but just to be safe, I'm gonna pound them in. No, that's not going anywhere. Now I'm gonna take the rope and go all the way down to the other end and do the same thing. I'm gonna pull it tight as I can, and staple it to that side of the block so there's no slack in the string. Just pull it nice and tight. There you go. Another thing worth noting is I have an HM 130 Max sawmill. It's a Woodland Mills. You might have a different one and you might not even have to worry about this, but my outer bunks have nothing. It's just the regular green bunk. My inner bunks where the logs sit have an 1/8 inch piece of stainless steel plating on it. So that means my 2x4 is 1.5 inches thick. This 1/8 inch piece is 1/8 inch. So I need to measure these to 1 3/8 because I need to take away that 1/8 inch. If you have a Wood Miser, I have no idea how their bunks are. If you have another brand, I don't know. You might not even have to worry about that, but that's just a little bit of extra math I have to do with this being a Woodland Mills sawmill. So, with the 2x4 on the end bunks at 1.5 inches, minus this stainless steel plate, the measurement from the plate to the bottom of the string needs to be 1 3/8. And I can already tell this is way less than that. So no wonder I was getting uneven cuts. So let's get a measurement on all these. Each of the 3 bunks needs to be 1 3/8 in order for this to be completely flat. It doesn't need to be level per se, but it has to be completely flat. Let's measure it. Okay, so the first bunk, we are at 3/4 of an inch there, so that is way off. Right here, we're at 5/8 of an inch, so that's even worse. And then over here, we're at about 15/16 of an inch. So This is my best bunk that's closest to it, and it's still close to a 1/2 inch off. That's pretty bad. So why does this happen? Well, the change of the seasons. So I set up this sawmill, the ground was still frozen. Now it's about 70 degrees today. The ground is thawed and just settling happened, the ground shifted, so probably a couple times a year you'll have to re-level your sawmill. So what I have to do is drop all of these down, each 3 of them, to get that 1 3/8. And it's pretty easy on my sawmill. All I gotta do is adjust these nuts, drop them down, and then make sure it's level from this way to this way too. Then I'm gonna cut some 2x4s out of these logs here. It's a big dead ash tree I had that I cut down. I need 2x4s and some more 1x material, and we'll see how it's cutting. Alrighty guys, so it's a little time consuming. It's like a little bit of back and forth action because you get one bunk right and then you gotta adjust the other one and it throws that one off. So you just gotta kind of play with it. Another thing I should have mentioned is I have 3 bunks that I had to level. So cut yourself some blocks at the level you needed. Mine was 1 3/8, but yours might be the same as the outside ones. And this just makes it easier for finding that right there. So it's perfectly to the bottom, and there you go. And then the other one is good too. So then, you know, and another thing to mention is my sawmill isn't completely level, but as long as these bunks are flat to the blade, that's okay. You'll just have to push either, you know, a little slightly uphill or slightly downhill if it's not level. But it's still going to give you a flat board. So I'm going to get a log loaded up. I'm going to mill this larger one into mostly 2x4s, and we'll see how it's cutting. Now my sawmill is electric start, but I still don't have a battery. So still doing it the old-fashioned way here. Alrighty, so now, if all worked according to plan, this should be a completely square cant. So let's see. About 9 5/8, 10 3/4, 9 5/8, and 10 3/4. That's a lot better because when I was milling yesterday, it was way off. Worked like a charm. I'm gonna finish up these 2x4s, and then we'll move on. Out of that log, I got a big old pile of 2x4s. There was a little bit of a split at the end, which is kind of a bummer, but it's for a chicken coop, so we'll make them work. So finally, I'm able to get accurate 2x4s. 3.5 by 1.5. Perfect. So there you go, that's just a quick video to flatten your sawmill the easy way so you can have accurate dimensional lumber. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.